Hey everyone, this is FixReef, and today we have this Radion XR30 Gen 5. This is the first Gen 5 that came in for repair, as it makes sense because these units are now 2 years old. They're out of warranty. Once they're out of warranty, fixing them through the manufacturer is going to be either expensive or in some cases impossible because they no longer have parts for those units, especially today with all kinds of parts shortages. So this is the very first Gen 5 Radion that I have received. I have no idea what's inside yet. I haven't seen one of those disassembled yet, aside from the Reef Builders pictures. So we're going to investigate together what actually went wrong here and what needs to be done to fix this. Right off the top here, you can see a couple of issues, but these are common to these lights. They've over-tightened them during assembly, which caused cracks along the way on both ends here. So nothing we can do about it. I'll just try to make sure that I'm careful about it and don't lose the pieces, but it is what it is. That's the manufacturing problem that Radion had that they've admitted to a while back. Other than that, the issue that this unit came in with is that eventually it goes into the short circuit that likely indicates bad LEDs or maybe a bad channel. First off, actually, since it's not water damaged, let's plug it in and see if we can reproduce the problem. The lights seem to come on, but I have low current setting on my power supply. I'll need to bump it up. Let's try it again. And it turns off immediately. You can see that for the most part, all of the LEDs turn on. And then shuts off almost right away. The LEDs that don't seem to come on consistently appear to be the usual suspects of UVs. So these two shut off right away. These two shut off right away, so I'm expecting that probably these two will shut off as well. And these two shut off as well. Okay, so I am suspecting likely UV channels on this. That's what's probably wrong. Let's take it apart and check what's inside. Pieces of plastic already started coming off. Okay, now it looks like we need to get rid of the this cover here, which is the diffuser, I suppose, or the lens. There's such a basic lens here, not fully transparent. This is probably for light dissipation. Very basic, very it feels cheap. This is not a whole lot different from Gen 4 previous lights. You have your Mobius chip, presumably, over on this side. Or not. I'm guessing that this has to be Mobius. The fan is connected through the same connector. The power is connected the same way. The main board is underneath, just like in previous generations. The only thing that's different now is the LED cluster, which is just one huge LED cluster. And what else that makes this different significantly is that all of the LEDs on here are tiny. They are super small compared to the LEDs that we had on previous generations. Okay, now that it's disassembled, let's power it up again Yeah, right away, several LEDs shut off. Yeah, all of these LEDs, this and this, this and this, this and this shut off. This is likely the UV channel. So let's do some testing on this. Right on the board here, I'm just gonna grab one that I know that seemed to be powering up, and let's test it. See, lights up, lights up, lights up, and lights up. If we attempt these ones, the UV, either UV or violet, seem to light up. Same here. Good. This is also good. Good. And so is this. Good. And good. So individually they all light up, which is good news. So there must be something else that may be wrong with this. Okay, so after testing this board a little bit longer, I think I found the problem, and I think that the problem is with this one LED here, which is either UV or violet. I'll have to look up exactly which one it is. The problem is that if you power up the unit and it just comes up and then shuts off, then the UV LEDs seem to work. Every single one of them. Like this one works. This one works eventually, right, and so on. But this one also works right away. But if you let it sit for a little while and it completely discharges, then this LED doesn't work. You still let it sit a little bit longer and it starts showing very low resistance. And when it's a very low resistance, it's a clear indication that this LED is gone. For example, this LED, which is probably the same type LED that is either UV or violet, shows 8.5 mega ohm resistance across the pins, whereas this guy shows 800 kilo ohm. So it's 10 times less resistance. It's still significant resistance, but it's not where it needs to be. 8 mega ohm and only 800 kilo, 800 kilo ohm. So, and I also, the reason I started poking around this specific LED is because when I looked at it under the microscope, I could visually see inside not the same inside as the others. It looks visually damaged. Let me actually get under the microscope and show you what I mean. Even on those tiny LEDs, you can see that. So here is an example of a good LED. We can see that the trace connecting this over to probably ground seems clean. Nice rounded shape, nothing's wrong. The LED itself is nice and clean, nothing's wrong. Now if we look at the one that is a suspect, we can see that the trace going to what appears to be ground over on this side is all damaged. It's no longer nice and round. It's got some type of mess there that potentially indicates a problem with the LED. So this is likely our culprit, and this is likely our problem. We'll need to replace it. Okay, so I removed the LED cluster off of it, and we're going to attempt to replace the UV LED that's here that I think is bad. So let's get to it. We'll do it under the microscope because these LEDs are tiny. All right, I will add a little bit of flux around the LED. And let's wait for it to reach the proper temperature. I am reflowing with the assumption that there is unleaded solder. Approaching the right temperature slowly. And it's off. Okay, the LED came off nice and clean. We still need to remove the unleaded solder and put some leaded solder in there, and we'll be ready to install the new one. Now we need some fresh solder. Wow, I need some stronger heat on this. That's better. This is good enough. This will melt quite well once it's reflowing. All right, so now let's get a new LED. That should work. Okay, let's get it in. Now we're going to need to reflow with leaded solder profile. So let's see what happens. And we got it. So I'll need to clean all of this up. There is quite a bit of mess, but I just replaced that LED. Let's plug it in again and see if that helps. That's the LED that we've replaced. I don't actually know what type of intensity this light is set to right now. It's probably going to be quite high, so it's probably going to be blinding. But the point is, if it stays on, if I plug it in and it stays on and doesn't shut off within like a few seconds, we likely fixed it. So let's try it. Okay. All of the LEDs are on. And it looks like they're staying on. They are staying on. All right. So it looks like we fixed it. Let's go over what actually happened here. So the light shuts off. The problem is with a UV LED. Replacing UV LED and cleaning everything up makes the light work again. This is actually a very standard, typical problem with all of Radions, regardless of which generation they are. It's just interesting to see that even Gen 5, which is drastically different from previous generations, has the same exact issue. And I can actually speculate about why this is a problem. Now, this is a fairly new light. These type of LEDs that exist on it are not very, they're very new. They are not as common as the old types. This is definitely the direction that all of the lights are going these days. But here's the problem. We have a large variety of colors of these LEDs on this light. Green, blue, red, white, UV, violet, all or yellow, all kinds of lights exist here. And we, for example, know that Cree, the manufacturer, produces very high quality LEDs that are of blue spectrum, royal blue, white spectrum, that type of thing. Those are usually very good quality, but Cree does not make UV LEDs. Now, the manufacturer, in this particular case Ecotech, needs to put UV, because if they don't put UV, they will be eaten alive on R2R forums and other forums for not including UV spectrum on these lights. So they have to go and find UV LEDs somehow, and in this particular case, they have to find UV LEDs that are of this tiny little size. There are not a whole lot of manufacturers that make this type of UVs in this particular form factor for this new light. So they have to resort to lower quality LEDs, and that eventually causes the lights to fail. Those lower quality LEDs, UV LEDs, just fail faster than the good quality regular colored LEDs. And that, I think, is what's causing these lights to fail again and again and again and again because of this. It was incredibly difficult for me to find replacement UV LEDs of this size, even now, 2 years after this light was manufactured. So I hope that I put a better quality LED. It's a definitely newer UV LED, so hopefully I put a better quality LED on there, and hopefully this light will last longer. This completes the repair. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, and I will see you next time.